Welcome back to the Crafty Conversation, where this week I'm joined by a long colleague and friend, Simon Woodward. Simon, as a fellow head of physical education, sports science, however you want to term it, has started his career and kind of moved up all the rungs really at Malvern College in Worcestershire, where he began as a graduate assistant, moved on to do his teacher training, then did his early career teaching post there before becoming a teacher in the department, and on to actually become head of the department. Simon then moved over and now works at Oakham School. He's the head of department there. Simon's background prior to beginning his teaching career is in strength and conditioning, so possesses that kind of interesting lens that listeners will remember from episode 25 when I spoke with Dr. Craig Harrison around movement, athleticism and the development of physical literacy. Si, great to have you with us, mate.
Thanks for having me.
So as you know, and as listeners well know, we all feel very safe in the fact that every episode starts the same. What do you consider your craft to be?
Yeah, I'm glad you gave me a heads up on this one, because I actually went and got a definition just to make sure I was going to go along the right lines. But I always saw it more as a skill, I suppose, and I actually don't think that, well, I don't know, maybe I have been blessed with it, but it's more, I would see my craft as being able to build relationships with people. And then that, as a result of that, I think it just plays quite well into being a teacher, bearing in mind that most of the job is based off people, whether that be the pupils or the staff body. So I'd guess building rapport is probably my proper craft.
Building rapport with others to enable them to flourish.
I wouldn't see, I'd never included that just in case I haven't done that in the past, but yeah, that would be the aim.
Yeah. Can you give us an example of what that looks like in your day to day?
Yeah, I think most importantly within the role, I would guess that looks like me genuinely caring, but the pupils knowing that I genuinely care about them in the classroom, and as a result, hopefully we have fun in the classroom, but also that enables some kind of progress and result to come out of most lessons, hopefully all of them. But then obviously in the wider body, dealing with other members of staff, I've always had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I probably shouldn't say it in terms of PE's role within the curriculum, or maybe perception of PE. So I like to try and make sure that I get out there with other staff and they understand who I am and what I'm about.
Yeah, it's something I share, that perception of our subject. Where does that come from? What is that?
I wish I knew. Might help the solving of that problem. I would guess it's more, especially maybe within the independent, where sport is so prevalent that sport and PE get lost in one another, as opposed to the different experiences that I probably believe that people should have between PE and sport. But yeah, not sure. Or it's just all practical and there's no academic element to it at all, which obviously also comes into it.
Yeah, of course. That's really interesting, that sense of PE and sport merging into one. Do you believe they're fundamentally different then?
Yeah, massively. I think, inherently sport is competitive. It's played under pressure most of the time. It relies on a certain level of skill to be successful. Whereas for PE, I would like to think that whatever the curriculum is based more off being able to achieve success, no matter the ability or skill level. Doesn't always have to have competition, or if it's competition, it could just be within yourself rather than the result element of win-loss. So yeah, in my head, they would be very different.
Yeah, it's something, again, that is a sense of having a clear distinction between what those two things are. I think is really important. I think it's important. It's easy for professionals like you and me who are experienced to be able to say that. But I think the wider understanding, both within the sector, colleagues who don't teach physical education, and then the parental body and society at large, that understanding that actually the education of the physical doesn't mean going out and doing 6-week block of football. because and being able to really articulately explain the reason why it isn't that is so important. I think it's actually something that's on the turn. It's definitely moving. I find this when I work with colleagues nationally and do CPD stuff, that there is definitely an interest, a curiosity around building more of a movement curriculum. But I just find it fascinating that that's all a general perception. Well, my general observation, I should say, is that it's just a curiosity at the moment and not a reality. Why, you're a distinguished professional. Why is that? Why have we got so many schools, particularly those in the maintained sector, who are delivering 6 weeks of football, 6 weeks of badminton, 6 weeks of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I would guess that it is exactly that, is that actually we probably find ourselves we do find ourselves in the privileged few, whereas we can have our games time or our sport time that is separated, and we then have protected PE time where we're not trying to chase any of those elements, whereas the state sector would have to combine some kind of sports into the PE curriculum. They obviously have their after school clubs and things like that, but it's never going to completely satisfy to the level. So there is still a gulf in terms of that. Facilities obviously still come into it. Independent schools very lucky to have all these S&C gyms and like athletic development or strength and conditioning coaches that can contribute to those programs, whereas again the state won't. So I think the curiosity element is probably because I think people are starting to recognize, because of screen time and other elements, that the physical activity at the bottom end or play is disappearing. So they're starting to see the results of that in terms of reduced movement competency or literacy. And therefore there is probably a curiosity behind that as to why that is happening. But whether the tools can be completely put in place to help that across the country, probably not.
I find myself as you're responding there, and you're right. We are definitely, you and I, in the privileged view. We work in the independent sector, and therefore, and certainly you and I are privileged, even more privileged, that we have a ring fence dedicated physical education time on the curriculum formally, and then games. But so we're actually becoming more and more of a minority of schools by having protected PE time in the independent sector. So many are moving away, taking away that formal PE lesson and giving it to English, to maths. I mean, that happens to us in year 11 at least. My program is year 9 and 10, and year 11, that time goes back to English so they can separate language and literature. But for those colleagues working in the independent sector who have no PE and all games, is that worse than having less resources in the state sector?
Yeah, good question. I suppose if you never know, it doesn't hurt. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the dream would be that the maintained sector, somehow there is, free CPD available, and they can at least get some kind of element into their PE games, sport, whatever it comes under for them every time. So Kelvin Giles did a 5 and 5 where you did literally 5 movements in 5 minutes as part of a warm up, and if you can do some element of that repeatedly, then you're still going to get benefits. And it's probably not done at the moment, but it's fairly simple. But for the independent, I don't know. We're in the same fight in terms of that, trying to keep that protected time. Oakham is in a good place because obviously we have year 7 and 8 as well, so we get them a little bit earlier and have that time. But yeah, great question. Don't think I could answer that properly.
I'd stick my neck out and would answer it. I think it's worse. I think the problem that our sector can have, and this is quite a sweeping statement, so if I cause anyone listening offence, then do get in touch. I think it's so easy just to go so games oriented. That's the history of our schools, isn't it? It's the big block fixture in your major sports, in your hockey, in your cricket, in your rugby, in your football, whatever it is, netball, and being able to service that feels like there's more wrapped up in a school's identity in being able to service a 4 or 5 team deep rugby fixture or hockey fixture than there is in and what that looks like with drone footage and from a marketing perspective.
The marketing behind it.
Rather than actually look how well this child can squat as a result of dedicated. Look at the hip and ankle mobility in this child as a result of their dedicated PE time. I also think there's kind of is there an inspectorate? Is there a kind of outcome driven, grade point average style driven curriculum choice made by deputy head academics when they take away PE and offer it to core subjects? It's a minefield, really, isn't it?
It takes a huge amount of bravery, doesn't it? I know that I probably came in with like you said, different lens to begin with anyway, in terms of strength and conditioning. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist, and it's probably stating the obvious, but even working at academies and you look at an under 18 level, how many get actually taken on and how few that is. And then you work backwards from there. And then going into Malvern and thinking, well, they were genuinely elite at cricket in terms of what they produce.
Yeah.
But if you still look now, how many professional players they have on the books at the counties is, I don't know, a handful, 3 to 5 probably. So, like, where are the rest of these children? Like, there has to be bravery and understanding to try and let these kids, because the majority are just going to go to the gym or go for a run or something in their adult lives that is not going to resemble sport. Yeah, brilliant, we'd love it if they did, and obviously those opportunities are around, but a huge proportion won't.
Well, I say this all the time. When naturally I get some kickback from colleagues when you present a model of physical education that's quite different to one that they've ever worked. And I said, well, we need to be providing a wide base and so that they can find a sport that they'll love for the rest of their life. And I'm like, that is such a romanticized image, because when's the last time you played sport? When's the last time you and I played sport?
Yeah.
I haven't played I can't even remember the last time I played any formal sport.
No.
Because that's not how people exercise, is it? Like you just said, they go for a run or they use the gym or they go swimming. From a swimming is probably, in terms of a technically driven sport, is probably the one that people choose to do the most. And even then, it's not competitive. You just go in and have a swim.
Yeah, it's funny. I was bad to say that I'd like to think my football on a Monday night at Malvern was formal, but it definitely wasn't. It was just a bunch of middle-aged blokes running around a pitch.
Mate, you shouldn't be dropping middle-aged. But yeah, it really is interesting. And actually, when you pose that, it's one of those that makes people go, yeah, good point. I'm inflammatory with it, but I'll say, I don't care whether I've taught them how to do a backhand badminton serve, because so what? When's the last time at Centre Parks? That's when I'll be doing that.
See, I actually did used to play badminton, so I can't use that excuse, but it was a long time ago.
Or like a layup, a basketball layup.
Oh yeah, off your weekend as well.
Off your weekend, brilliant. Yeah, let's do that. It's such a complex skill. You can find a more complex skill, and then PE teachers get wound up when they don't see success.
But yeah, I suppose I think that's probably why I do think that I am privileged, in the fact that you have complete run autonomy control over the curriculum. So like every year I'll probably just try something random and see if it works, see if the kids buy in, see if we get any outcomes out of it. This year we're going to try and include a bit of Scatch, the Velcro pads and the balls.
Oh, cool.
Like, just because we think, like, if catching it's not going to be a thing for kids, then hopefully just sticking a hand in the way and it will stick might help.
That's a great idea.
But we're going like very S&C based this year, but not like, we won't formally advertise that to the kids, but we'll go alternate weeks. So like 1 week will be kind of that athletic development principles, and I might look at acceleration or deceleration, change direction, and the following week we'll recap that content but put it into some kind of more game-based scenario or something like that, and just keep alternating just to see if it helps, if it works, if they can pick bits up, if they keep enjoying it, but it's not sport. I don't know. You just keep playing, don't you, and hope that kids enjoy it.
Yeah, we do something really similar, but essentially we merge those athletic development principles into the lessons as it goes, rather than one on one off. But it's really similar, and like you say, we are lucky because and again, I pose this to colleagues in any sector, not just the independent sector, because we're very lucky that we're not held by having to deliver a specific curriculum. Key stage 3 English, they are going to be doing they're going to be doing the Tempest or Midsummer Night's Dream. They have to deliver something. They have to develop their creative writing. Whereas for us, we've got total agency, and that is, the creativity and the exploration for us and for the kids around that. My core program, I've been a head of department for 9 years. I don't think my core programs looked the same ever across. You just always iterate a little bit, don't you, and play around. And
this is a brief pause in today's crafted conversation to talk about how the crafted concept, the overarching business that supports the crafted conversation, both in newsletter and in podcast form, can best support you in your performance environments. The crafted concept has experience working in the education and elite sports sectors through performance coaching for individuals or for teams, the learning environment, by focusing on those 3 pillars of the crafted concept of performance: learning environment, learning design, and learning critique. Contact me directly because I can help you, as I have done on many occasions, developing a sense of cohesion within the team. Performance coaching aims to drive individuals and teams to excel. And as a performance coach, I am an expert in areas of teaching and learning, instructional design, motivational psychology, team development, performance culture and environment, and performance mindset. It's my job to generate activities, use questioning, listening, observing, probing techniques to deliberately seek feedback and present opportunities for lateral thinking and inspire growth and ideas for you as an individual or for the performance of the team and the collective. The crafted concept is your accountability partner, is your critical observer. I'm able to draw upon experiences as an expert teacher and instructor, and as an expertly qualified executive coach, performance coach with over 100 hours worth of coaching experience. As a coach developer in elite sport, I can support and guide coaches through the complexities of your professional development, of your professional environment, offering structure and assisting you in refining your skills through learning environment, learning design, and learning critique. Contact me directly, marcus@thecraftedconcept.co.uk, or look me up on LinkedIn, Marcus Sharrod.
How do you find staff react to that? Because I understand the need. I see this with my staff, and I know there's times that they would be probably frustrated by bits of change, or the fact that I'm not being really prescribed with what I want them to achieve beyond just that sense of movement and play. And it's so much easier to go, there's a scheme of work that says that's your warm up, that's your this, that's your this, that's your this. How do you find that with your staff?
Yeah, very similar, to be honest. But I remember my PGC placement at State School, and the teacher, who was an excellent teacher, we finished a practical lesson. I was probably beating myself up too much, and he went, look, at the end of the day, were they active and did they learn something? And if you're saying yes to both of those, then you're probably okay.
Happy days.
So I try and take that pressure off the staff in terms of, look, the lesson can look however, like, you put your personality, you put your stamp on it. As long as it roughly falls within this framework, I'm okay. Now, like you said, I think some people find that a struggle. And I think because of external pressures as well, whether that's different job titles, job roles, personal stuff, like they don't want to come in and then have to think too much. I think they quite like the clarity behind a plan and then just deliver it. So it does need probably a little bit more buy-in, but I am lucky that there are a lot of good staff here that are young and are interested in it, that curiosity, and want to give the pupils a good service. So yeah, probably a bit of both.
I think that sense of the curiosity in the staff is really important, isn't it? And when you've got a department that perhaps isn't as young and hungry, or if you've been doing the job long enough as I have, that you've built your own team around you, then I think surely there's a purpose that's there's a higher purpose than us that makes this work worthwhile. When you look at physical activity levels, when you look at movement competencies, when we know what we know about screen time and all the things that are impacting young people, then we've got a responsibility.
Yeah. And I think a massive amount comes down to that individual motivation of the teacher to give that service.
Yeah.
It's not a lip service just because it's curriculum PE as opposed to A level or BTEC or IB or whatever it is. It is for these kids, this lesson still really matters, and therefore we've got to go at it.
I think you're right as well. And it's the same for us. A working day, particularly in the independent sector, you tear about from one thing to the next. You've got a games session in the afternoon. You might have a boarding duty that night. You're here, there, and everywhere. And my focus has to be my academic classes. 90% of my timetable is my academic classes. I'm held to account on their results, both as a head of department and as an individual teacher. And so it's really easy just to come through into your core lesson and kind of just crack
Drift
on.
Through. Yeah.
I think there's drift in terms of what you're delivering, because actually, as long as you're bringing the energy and the holding your kind of values true to you, that you want to deliver a movement curriculum because that's what society needs, that purpose is way bigger than me. I've got a responsibility to deliver that. So I think it's easy to forget as a PE teacher, we have an 8-period day. We're the best thing in that day for so many of those kids, and not just the ones who, the classic narrative around, oh yeah, PE is the best part of the day because I'm a team sport player who struggles to keep still in the classroom. I'm talking about just that it's different.
Yeah. Just out of a classroom.
Yeah, just out of a classroom, different rules and routines.
No pressure.
Physiologically, neurologically, what we know that movement does for them. No pressure. So actually, sometimes if you just bring the energy, you've done your job in a big way.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a massive, I liken it to that white line fever or getting on a stage. It doesn't really matter what is going on with you or your day. Like you say, it's a bigger purpose. And once you cross that threshold, you've got to turn it on. And if you want to, as soon as that minute finishes and the kids leave, if you want to sit in a dark corner for 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, you do it. But in front, like you say, you do have a responsibility to bring it.
Yeah. Which is why flipping at 36, I'm still vaulting.
See, I haven't got that in me either. I'm pretty sure last time I tried to do something, I nearly pulled my shoulder out.
I did do a shoulder once in a gym. I actually popped my shoulder doing a demo in a gym-based lesson. I just remember going white. Our head of S&C looked across and he's seen me and he's like, "Is your shoulder just gone?" Yeah, can you carry on with this demo, please? Oh my god. Oh yeah, it's brilliant. You mentioned way back in the intro, actually, when I asked about your crack, you said about your classroom environment. We've talked a lot about putting your kit on core PE so far, and you said about your classroom environment being fun and energized. And I love that, and I also find that interesting because that description of a classroom might go against traditional notions of what a classroom should look like. And I don't mean, I'm not talking kind of Oliver Twist, Victorian, Dickensian, although many might feel that that's what a classroom should still look like, sat in rows looking at the front, sage on the stage. Tell me about fun and enjoyment in a classroom.
Well, it's funny you say that because I did go and observe a maths teacher. I won't tell you which school, but if they do listen to this, they'll know exactly who they are. And it was exactly like that. Lining up outside, be welcomed in, stand behind your chairs. Good morning, mister. Good morning. Sit down. And I was there like, wow. But impeccable behaviour, lots of learning. So, but I suppose what I would always come back to, and it's probably based off that relationships element, is you have to be authentic. And I couldn't do that classroom. But that's not me. I'd find it painful. I think the kids would probably find it painful. So if we talk about them have a, that TS1, like have a safe learning environment, well, I think for it to be safe, you've got to be relaxed and you've got to be authentic. And if you're quiet, you can be quiet. I'll come and find a way to gauge your progress. And if you want to be outgoing and make jokes, then be outgoing and make jokes as long as it doesn't affect the actual progress of everyone in the room. And that probably takes a bit of a craft in terms of a skill of managing that learning environment. But equally, like I want to make jokes. I don't want to stand there and be Dickensian. I want to enjoy delivering what I'm delivering, and I want you to enjoy it as well. So I think that authenticity, and it just means probably what it looks like, I'd like to think, is that pupils are attentive and probably are smiling at some point in that lesson.
I love that. Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, that was it.
I love that sense of authenticity, and to be authentic, you have to be yourself. And interestingly, for colleagues out there, to be yourself means really to know yourself. Teaching is a performance, for sure. Same as coaching is a performance.
Yeah.
But it's a performance within the character that you possess. Like
it's your best self.
Yeah, it's your best self, or it's a slightly heightened version of yourself. And that takes time and experience, and they're things that you and I are lucky to have. We've got our deliberate practice, we've done our X many hours in a classroom and perfected, not perfected, but attempting to perfect over time. But I think I can definitely recognize very early in my career, I was lucky right at the start back at NQT to be in a department that was full of real characters who loved the job, and I say this, and I say it with intent. They loved being around kids.
Yeah.
And all the fun and madness that working with teenagers brings.
Yeah.
And I saw them bring their authentic selves and do so in a way that they were just the most loved people in the school, and went, wow, okay, cool. I had permission to be that and be myself. And I really believe that's how my career accelerated quite quickly, through luck, obviously, and circumstance. But it's because I was able to just bring myself to a classroom.
No, I completely agree with that. If I actually think about my PGCE, I was petrified of my head of department, because the standards were so high and the demands on me, I felt, were so high as a PGCE. But then my mentor was unbelievable. He was very relaxed, very fun driven, which caused complications with the head of department in department meetings, but it was great to watch. And then I've got one at the other end of the scale that's a little bit older, more experienced, very calm, very quiet. I had one in the middle that genuinely cared, wanted to be involved, very professional. So there was this whole mix, and I could just like people watch almost and just soak in little bits of each of them and go, well, the kids obviously really like that, but they don't really like that. And does that play my way or not? Yeah, probably. But like you say, I think in terms of that care and wanting to be around kids, I think that stands out. That's why I would probably believe teaching is more of a vocation. It's more of a calling, because I think whether you've got that or not. I think whether you genuinely want to be around children and try and make a difference.
And authentic self doesn't mean jokey, have a laugh with them. It's important that colleagues listening know that that isn't what we mean here. I've got members of my department. I've got, obviously in my role, I'm lucky that I get to support staff across the whole common room, and there are different ways of bringing yourself to a lesson, like for sure you can connect in so many different ways with the kids. So what we're absolutely not saying here is kind of peddling that traditional the PE teacher, have a laugh, take the mickey out of, everyone's got a nickname, that's not what we're saying here. We're saying, just if you know yourself, then bring as much of it as possible, because then the kids will connect with you.
And I think that, like you mentioned, that is down to experience, and it is a craft to get that balance right. Because I think, like, if I actually sit back and reflect on me as a younger teacher, I was definitely more what you've just mentioned. And yes, although that would bring some positives, it definitely, over long-term longevity, classroom environment, didn't play the way that I would want it to now.
I was harsher. I was definitely harsher.
Were you?
Yeah.
As in, wanted to create this real firm boundary and
like I was never. I would not snap more, but I'm definitely more forgiving. I can't tell whether that's age, experience, being a parent myself now. I think time creates. If you've done your work in building rapport over time, particularly when you work in one place, and where the independent sector tends to serve kind of families over time, doesn't it, with siblings and things, so you've got a reputation that precedes you, then I just find now that I'm lucky enough that all it takes is the right kind of look or a quiet word, because kids want to they don't want to let you down, they don't want to let themselves down. For you, I think I've got a better understanding of human motivation, actually.
For you, would you say that's the same across the year groups, or do you still find that you'd be more rigid maybe with the older children if they're supposed to be more mature and aware?
I think the ones typically, you could guess the age groups, it's probably that kind of year 10. Probably get it more year 9, year 10, because of course your year 9s are in the middle of the school, whereas for me, year 9s are the youngsters, so they're brand new. So you get our year 9s almost behave more like your year 7s would. It's just when they're finding themselves. I just think I know more about everything. I know more about teenagers, and I know more about their pro-social brains. I know more about what motivates them. And therefore I think I can just be slightly more empathic, perhaps. Maybe that's an age thing. How do you find that? We're a similar age.
I would say, I've definitely mellowed over time, but I would have guessed that probably parenthood would have been the one for you. I mean, that's a major change, because I think I probably still do, and maybe again it's because I've now joined a new school, because I think at Malvern I did have what you have at Marlborough. I think your reputation precedes you, and pupils just know. They know what they're going to get, and they know where the line is, and they're intuitive, aren't they? They get it. Whereas here, I'm probably, last year with my A level, because I'd taken them through the cycle, I think I found it. But if there were still new groups coming in, I think I would have to be different. Again, in Malvern, I taught GCSE. So when you teach at GCSE and they transition into sixth form study, they already know you. Whereas I don't have the opportunity to teach down at the moment. Therefore, they experience me as a new teacher at sixth form, which means I probably have to be slightly harsher to begin with than what I would normally be. But
it's about recognizing, and again, that's an experience thing, isn't it? Recognizing what groups need what extreme, what not extremes, but what slightly more amplified, let's say, versions of the teaching identity that you bring.
I mean, for you, in terms of like that sixth form especially, what balance do you strike between saying, right, it's your studies, it's your qualification, off you go, and then still not necessarily using sanctions, but you driving it a little bit more?
Yeah, I don't use sanctions loads, but I think that is, I completely believe in a sanction system. I again, I think that's just I feel like I don't have to do a faceless sanction thing. I can do a one-to-one style motivation, or sometimes the whole group. Sometimes the group need a kick up the arse, don't they? Yeah, there has to be. I think I believe that we at A level we owe it to the kids from a wider, not just kind of what letter is going to be the outcome in August. We owe it to them that they're probably going to go on to university, independent study, and we owe it to them to start to ingrain those things. But then we've got processes here. We as a department really leverage a kind of flipped learning approach, pre-reading, task orientation in the lesson, rather than taking notes in the lesson. You're not. I know these are your belief systems as well, and so that kind of digs you out in itself. If you haven't done that in preparation for a lesson, then you can't access the content of the lesson.
Yeah.
I think, we're talking about, ultimately, you and I are lucky that we deal with kids that are largely proportionally motivated. They just can be abject teenagers sometimes.
Yeah.
But if you sit in if you're that type of person, you sat in a lesson, and the fact that you haven't got a clue what's going on has dug you out enough. And especially if you've got the kind of kids in the lesson that will go, that if I don't know, make a laugh and a joke about the fact that you don't know what you're doing, or when when that pupil is trying to use them to help them, and they go, nah, I've got work to do. Then it's enough, really, isn't it? It's a soft accountability measure.
It's often the thing that I struggle, because I think, like, if I think about myself as a teenager, like PE that I loved, I'd have given night and day to. But my other two subjects, like, I know you referred to motivation and understanding of it, but I genuinely don't know what would have helped at that time in my life. I just don't think that I would have ever been motivated to do those subjects. It's weird. I don't know.
I mean, I was running around thinking I was going to be a footballer. I haven't even got any A levels.
Yeah. It all works out in the end, eh?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. How important is the academic arm of our subject to you?
To me personally, massively. I couldn't say any more in terms of the wider perception again, but for me, it's massive. I think. Look, I remember, again, going to university, and I said I wasn't going to go, and my mum said, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I don't know. And she said, well, if you don't know what you're going to do, then you go into university, you just pick something you love. So I was like, okay, cool, like, I'll go sports science then. And then what you're exposed to, like, then was really cool, and some of the experiences that I had were amazing. Obviously helped me go towards that strength and conditioning to begin with, and again, I had some really cool experiences off the back of that. But I suppose, without getting too deep, it's that lifelong love for learning. Like, I'm fascinated by the human body. I think it's amazing what we can do. So I see our subject, like, I dropped biology after one lesson because it was on plants. So I see our subject as more of a, like, let's go and learn about human biology, especially the IB. Like, how cool is this? How mad is this that your body can do this? And I think as a result, hopefully that passion and that content then get pupils into it to go, actually, yeah, this is really cool. Even if they don't then go on and study it beyond, at least they have an understanding of their body and hopefully rate it.
Yeah, big time. And it's actually one of the biggest frustrations I have with the GCSE course is that it doesn't do enough. It almost makes it makes processes seem weirder than that A-level content where you can go, and that's what we wanted to be talking about at GCSE. Yeah, but then it's really difficult because obviously I suppose some colleagues would say, oh yeah, but I just teach it them anyway and go beyond spec, but then you've totally confused
Yeah,
70% of them, it's not. But yeah, it's the thing that inspires me the most about the job these days. I feel that responsibility from a movement perspective, that does light a fire under me. But look at what academic sports sciences has allowed people to achieve at the elite level of sport in the last 25 years. Post lottery funding for the Olympics, or the advent of the Premier League. So we're talking like early mid 90s, aren't we? And then on from there in our lifetime, what, like, the elite stuff. The thing that I struggle to get across to people who don't have a foundational understanding like we do is just how talented, skillful, physiologically gifted these elite athletes are now.
Yeah. But it's the best thing. Was it on A League of Their Own where they were running on the treadmill?
Yeah.
And they all fall off after about 10 seconds or 15 seconds. You're like, yeah, they do that for 2 hours.
Yeah, I love that one, that Kipchoge, where people are in the harness, aren't they? What is it? It's 21 and a half or 22 kilometers per hour or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's bonkers. That's something you can't. And actually, even for us that probably are like reasonably active, reasonably sporty, I can't grasp being able to do that.
Yeah. I think I did it. I think I lasted like just over 90 seconds and then actually fell off it. But even, it's the contribution that those that are academically qualified in the sports sciences have made towards those successes to gain those extra. We're not talking classic kind of Team Sky, Dave Brailsford 1%. We're talking 5%. Through training adaptation, through technology, through nutritional science, through recovery, through it's such a standard now that things like in team sport GPS, or we have it. We kids playing at school level sport wear GPS and have their games VO'd. I was paid to play football, and we didn't have that. Didn't have analysis. Didn't wear a tracker.
It's becoming more tangible to them. Like you say, like they can actually see elements of it, and I think that's why it's really cool. But also they can use that in life. Like we're doing enrichment this year, and I'm doing like a 5-week block on your wearable tech because. Like I live by my Garmin. I love my Garmin. But even that talks about your training readiness, heart rate variability, sleep. Like you can look at all of these things and understand your own body so much better. And you might go and use stuff like that in life.
Yeah. Well, something like if someone like you say wears a Garmin or has got a Whoop, then that can genuinely leverage decisions that you make for your own health and well-being.
Yep.
And actually I can envisage, talk about iterations of our PE curriculum, us using those types of things and that data and doing kind of individual monitoring through a year's activity for pupils, and how much more supportive of their health and well-being, longevity is that than like our sort of joking example of a layup or a badminton serve or whatever. It's fascinating.
Well, you say that could genuinely be the difference. Like if someone looks down at their watch and they think, I've only done 5,000 steps today, I'm going to go for a little 45-minute walk because I know that I need to hit 10,000 steps a day. That's my goal, that's my target, and they go and take themselves off for a 40. Like we're winning the way I see it.
Yeah, I completely agree. But to go back to the academic kind of qualifications, I think we're probably, I would say, almost at, if not crossed, the tipping point of it not being fully recognized as I don't find that as an issue as I did at the beginning of my career, because the parental body that we serve know about it now.
Yeah.
And it's not that kind of soft subject thing. It certainly in my experience has gone. I can't tell whether that's because we've been really successful here in building our kind of academic profile of the department, or whether that's more widely recognised across education. But I certainly find more and more kids are leaving a place like Marlborough College and going to do sport courses at university.
Yes.
Which was unfathomable.
Yep.
When I first started working here in 2015-16.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's not about the subject or the content now. It's about the other issues that every subject would experience. Like, are the numbers high enough or whatever it be? It's not actually we shouldn't even be offering this. It's just we are offering it, but does it work within what we're actually doing?
And I suppose it's the number of jobs that are available in the industry now as well. Every football club employs 4 analysts. You can go and do a data analysis degree. You can go to good sport universities and go and do an analysis degree. I mean, that's class. That's cool.
Well, that probably is one of the big changes, isn't it? I think even when I started, it was only ever going to be sports science, and you might specialize within your final year, like physiology, psychology, whatever it may be. Whereas now it is like, yes, there is a 3-year undergrad on strength conditioning. There is a 3-year data analysis. There is physio. Physio would have existed, but there are plenty of other examples. Yeah, like that have now branched off and become their own entity, and people are doing them.
Yeah, and it's been recognised. Do you think we have a responsibility to show kids that more? I'm thinking off the cuff there. Like, we do a university visit, but naturally the university visits tend to lean towards the physiology because that's the really exciting, memorable, affective experience. But we don't. We don't do anything more widely in kind of demonstrating the kind of jobs that are out there.
Yeah, no, we're probably some of the only way I would get it in is through like a visiting talk, and I would try and spread the experiences through that. But that also just coincides with the people that I know within the field. So I suppose I'm lucky in that sense that I do have a bit of a range of people that are still involved in real sports science. But yeah, no, I mean, there's probably, you probably do a careers fair, same thing, and there might be a couple of questions based around that from specific pupils, or when they're doing their UCAS applications and they go away and they're looking at courses in universities, things might crop up. But I think we're the same as you. I don't think it is extremely visible just how big and wide their prospects could be.
Yeah. I'm interested then, Si, and this is my kind of out of the blue style question that towards the end of a conversation. What do you find that you've changed your mind on most recently in the world of physical education and school sport?
I would say probably online learning. So I think with COVID and obviously what happened and the rise in tech in general, I would think I was very much like, let's just, like, that's their life. Like, let's commit to working with screens and working through Teams, whatever it may be. Whereas I actually think more recently, I probably believe in going the other way now and just getting them off it. And papers it's not great for the environment and it's a pain. And there might still be elements that can be online based for convenience, like maybe marking and things like that, if you upload notes online or whatever it may be. But I think they have too much screen time, and I don't think they should be coming into school and having more, especially then. They're probably trying to be on phones in between lessons as well as being on screens in lessons potentially. So I'd say that's probably the thing that I've U-turned on the most.
Yeah, interesting.
Coaching wise, I probably haven't U-turned on much since I was about 27, 28 maybe.
Yeah. What happened at 27, 28 then? What was the last thing you did U-turn on?
Oh, probably just changed. Probably, like you'll know, heard a lot of the conversations that you've had on this podcast in terms of going away from this autocratic dictator style and actually being a little bit softer and a little bit more human based, and get buy-in from the players as opposed to just saying do this, do that. Trying to manage that environment better.
Yeah, I agree. And the online learning, for what it's worth, I think when we can use tech that creates a better outcome, great. You and I could not be doing this if it weren't for tech. And therefore it's a better outcome. I like OneNote. I think as a repository, as a safe kind of server protected, cloud protected base, as an ease of access for work scrutiny or for the inspectorate, brilliant. But I'm with you. What I've come to understand great teaching to be instructional practice, and therefore when a child is in my classroom, I'm humble enough to say that, you know, they've got different ways of learning and they can't just have me, but I'm also assertive enough to say I'm your best resource. You can't get anything better than me. The textbook's not better than me. The internet's not better than me right now in this moment, because I've got the knowledge and I've got the expertise in how to impart it upon you through tasks and through delivery. So the idea that a child would come to a classroom, flip up a screen and just type into it, to me is bonkers. And I actually think that's lazy teaching. Teaching is the art. It's the craft. It's getting amongst it. And that's no different to coaching either.
Well, I literally, like you said, that flip of a screen is literal. Like that puts up a barrier. Between you and them. It's very interesting.
They probably despise it. The kids think, oh God, here we go. But that is interesting. It's not surprising that I agree with your observation. I think we've got a lot in common professionally. And that's always been something that we've connected over, and then and as a result of that, understand, as I would say, inevitably, this has been a great conversation. So I really appreciate it, mate.
No, thank you for inviting me.